Welcome back, and welcome back Joey as well.
Thank you.
Joey's been on my channel a few times before because he's helped me be my burn op on a web series, and I think just that, but I've also got you along sometimes to help be my soundy when I've been doing the camera side of stuff. And today though, or rather yesterday, day before yesterday, whenever it was, he came by to borrow some gear from me to rent, and that was my Zoom F4, the bag, the power supply, a cable to be able to output it to a Sony that he has himself. He also likes the Sony UWP-D11s.
I was sold thanks to David's recommendation.
Yeah, because you've also probably used the G3s as well a lot, I assume, and you've also used the RodeLinks a lot, I know as well.
Yeah.
So what do you think of, G3s, RodeLinks, and the Sonys? Because those will probably be the three most commonly mentioned, like
Early
the
prosumer kind of.
Yeah, sort of the lower budget ones.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's other lower budget options like the Marans, just put out a new product, and Deity's going to be bringing out one next quarter, and there's a bunch of other ones. But definitely, like the ones get mentioned the most would be RodeLink, G3, and the Sony. So I guess give me your quick thoughts, because I mean I've said my thoughts enough.
Well, I've used Rode's. I think RodeLinks are pretty affordable, really easy to use. Kind of click and walk in. You turn it on and you walk away. But I found that hiding the body itself is really hard on trying to hide it on an actor.
They're bulky.
Yeah, they're very bulky. It's like hiding a brick, But so that kind of like, when I was thinking of buying my radio mic, that kind of went out of my list. So I was down to Sennheiser and the Sony, and I was thinking which one to buy, and David's really advocates for the Sony.
G3 is the most common.
Yeah.
But don't just pick something because it's the most common choice.
Well, G3 was like kind of my third choice. But the second choice I kind of was, because the G4 went out. So I was thinking, I wanted to see what, if I were to get a G4, then I'd have that for longer. But I'd never seen any comparison between a Sony and a G4. It's always just been G3 and a G4. So I wasn't sure. Maybe I'll wait a couple more years.
Yeah, well, the G4 Sony just came out, so there's not so many comparisons with it. But if you look at the spec sheets, and if you do read some of the talk about it, G3 and G4 are basically, at least the 100 series, they're the entry-level one, because there's a few actually different levels. So people normally mean the entry-level one when they're talking about the G3. But the G3 and G4 are almost exactly the same. I mean, there's like minuscule differences, but for all practical speaking purposes, G3, G4 is the same. So, which is, I guess, a bit of a disappointment. You would have hoped that maybe they would have done some real upgrade and make it more comparable to the Sonys.
Yeah, so then another thing that kind of honorable mention when I was buying was the Deity that came out, that was announced to come out in the future. Like, when's it coming out?
So I guess you were thinking about and bought yours at pretty much the same time the Deity came out, or rather got mentioned that it was in development.
Yeah, so I was thinking maybe holding off till next year to buy it, but then I was thinking if I had one now, it'd be more use as a soundy, like in smaller shoots to be able to use it. I do have a Lectrosonic 190. What was it? The UCR 190. So that one I got for like $200 online in the US. So that was pretty good. But I had to track down like individual gears parts for it, but the Sonys came all together, so I think for what it is, the mic's not the best, but it's somewhere. It's a good starting point, I think.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I think it makes sense for you to buy the Sony now, because the Deity won't come out until the Deity wireless. It just probably won't come out into the first quarter next year. Is what I've heard. But
And then you won't get real nice reviews out of it, or comparisons to like.
Yeah, and especially if somebody wants to wait for reviews, it could be in another quarter or half year. And definitely, I mean, you're always out every week on shoots, so you're going to be getting a lot of use out of your one until you do.
Exactly.
But definitely, when you come in to think about your third wireless, it's still on your horizon. And yeah, going back to that point, yeah, you also, your second wireless you bought is the Lectrosonics UCR 190, which would be the receiver, and I guess the UM190, that's the transmitter. Yeah, like, I mean, was that 200 US you paid for, or 200 New Zealand?
200 US.
200 US. I mean, like, I probably would be like a little bit iffy at paying that much. I mean, like, because they are like only the single frequency. They don't have frequency diverse. You're locked into whatever frequency you have. But they still do sound like quite nice. I mean, if they're working and they're really great, I guess, for the price. And so I guess sometimes when, like, I actually have got one, maybe two of them myself, because I have saved purchases, and occasionally when they just drop to a certain price and it's just so, like, it's nothing, I'm like, wow, why not? Just I just get sucked into that black hole of one more. But yeah, you got to be careful you don't pay too much for it. And I guess also if you're not buying it thrown with all the accessories and the lavs and the cords thrown in, then it sort of bumps up the overall cost a little bit.
And I ended up paying maybe like 400 NZ, like 500 probably NZ for it, for like the whole kit, just because I had to buy a antenna for the transmitter, as well as the Countryman EMWs for it as well, for the transmitter, sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, it's sort of pretty good. I mean, I probably would have leaned a little bit more to just, if you wait around, you probably could come back to Sony at second hand that price, or like for another couple of hundred more, you probably could have got like a UM 200 and a UCR 200 and something. But
it works. If it works,
yeah. Anyway, getting sidetracked, but yeah, I mean, I guess at the very least, it's probably like, I guess it's nice to have like a range of different ones. You can like see the two different ones, how they are next to each other for you. Anyway, getting back onto track of like what actually came around to rent it for me, which was the Zoom F4. And the Technical Sync E. That's right, because that's the whole reason you were getting the F4, because you've got a Tascam DR680, and they want it. Yes, I think they're wanting to like. Yeah, there's the whole crazy setup they wanted to do. They only wanted to record the boom, and they wanted to have the lavs straight to the camera to record it there instead, because they're worried about ease of syncing, and so, but like you still need to sync the boom channel. Like it just made no sense at all. And like I was saying to you, like, you're the sounder, you're the expert on sound here and sound workflow, so you really should like make your point to them. This is how you should be doing it instead. And so if they really are genuinely worried about syncing, well, time code and a scratch track to send across, and and that's what you end up doing for them.
We ended up, as per your recommendation, we kind of ended up doing that instead. That way I can monitor and semi-mix with what I have on me, the track, and then set it over to the camera, and then use their use what they're getting from the camera to send through to the video monitor via Teradek.
So you were sending a track from the F4 to the Vericam LT that then on the Teradek went to their video village, and so they had their headphones at the video village, and you hear like a little
splitter, like a 5 splitter, like to have like the clients listen over it. But so what we kind of we tested it out on Wednesday to check if it actually did work, and it worked kind of well the first time, but we did have to we had issues where when the camera would turn off, or when they turned off the camera or turn it on again, and like the volume or like the sound issues, there were kind of like sound issues linking through from the camera to the Teradek. I don't know what we were doing. It was dropping audio, so we had to go back and turn it on again. It wasn't, we had to turn on the volume again.
So we're saying that basically the camera output was resetting itself each time? Was
No. I think it was just a headphone, like the volume for the headphones. Whenever you turn off the machine, it reset to 0. So like whenever we had to kind of like reset or you know, turn off the camera or something, then we'd had to do like a whole bunch of things to. So we ended up the clients just ended up walking to location to where we were shooting and just watch from there. And so it was unfortunate. I'm just hindsight thinking hiring an IFB would have been a better solution in terms of sound anyways.
Also
but
another cost.
Yeah, it's another cost, but I guess to please the client and to I think it was very much a learning experience for me anyways.
So just to like clarify what you thought the problem was. So was the problem over the Teradek receiver?
No, I'm not too sure. It just became a hassle to kind of just reset it and like because we were like maybe 100 meters out, and then someone from our side, me or like the DP would have to like, you know, usually it was just the DP who had to like go up there and just recheck how it's happening to the Teradek and then come back in, and it became like a hassle for time purposes. So they
have like a third AC to take care of that.
We didn't. We had pretty much skeleton crew. We had like a art assist, makeup, and then me and the DP plus the director, and the rest were and a producer as well. So they were kind of
So the problem definitely was over at the receiver end of the Teradek. The problem wasn't back from coming out of the camera. So did you check the output from the camera? Before it reached the Teradek?
The video was working pretty alright, because whenever you turn it on and off, it's just the video would come on and off, you know, like just normally. But it was just the audio that was becoming a hassle.
Right, so it wasn't just the audio that was dropping out; it was the audio and video together that was dropping out. It was just, it wasn't really a what do you call it? I guess my question was the video and audio like sort of not working independently from each other, or were they not working together and working together?
It wasn't working independently with each other. So the camera, the video was working, but whenever we had to reset camera or turn it on, turn it off again, then like the monitor itself would put the volume back to 0. I don't know. It just became a hassle to kind of,
Right. So you would have the video working at some point, but not the audio.
Not the audio. Yeah, exactly. So we tested. We kind of tried to isolate what was happening. So I was sending through via a Sony Sony transmitter to a Sony receiver onto the camera, and that was getting the signal. And he was getting proper audio on his camera, but it was just not, you know. I don't know. I'm guessing maybe like audio was an afterthought. Maybe I'm not.
Well, I mean, like at least your part, you know, of the audio worked until it got to the camera. It's something that happened, you know, the whole camera to Teradeks. I mean, like I've definitely heard of problems with Teradeks. Just in general, in terms of as a video feed, I mean, even though Teradeks are the industry standard, perhaps they shouldn't be, because they do have issues with the dropouts and so forth. But I never heard of like this one with the audio. That would be like an interesting like question to post on some forum and see if like somebody else has experienced this. Anyway, I'd like to sort of talk more about like this and figure out what it is. But anyway, we can easily get sidetracked. Is the Teradeks DCs, by the way, or was the Teradek rented in from somewhere?
I'm not too sure.
Yeah, because I guess it'd be interesting to like find that exact same Teradek again and just you know, and in your free time fiddle around and find out what's going on. But yeah, I guess that's one of the benefits of actually if you have IFBs, you've got more control over
think,
the entire workflow of the audio getting to the end, being listened on set.
I think that's a lesson learned on my end. Just like if I have like an IFB, then that's less kind of variables to kind of work around.
Well, I mean, it's still a variable, but it's a variable that you've got more experience and control over.
More control, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting. But like IFBs is you need to raise it with the client and check if they're willing to sort of pay it. And as you mentioned, it was a pretty like small skeleton crew. But I mean, I guess you could at least ask. And I mean, it's not even something that I actually own, for instance. Like for myself, I mean, like if I was to be using IFBs on set, I also would need to like raise this as. I mean, like even if you do own them, there's still like a rental item that they need to agree to.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, one of the nice things about the Sonics we were talking about earlier is that if you are in a pinch and you want to solve a problem quickly, the headphone output from them is kind of handy. Like,
we kind of ended up using that. We kind of ended up doing that in the end, where we sacrificed one of the Sonys that was with the actors, and then used that as a monitoring device for the clients. And I used that's when I had to bring out my Lectrosonic to put on the to put on the actor.
Because I was just thinking in my head, I thought you would have had a spare wireless on you from what we were talking about before.
Yeah, so then it kind of worked out that way. But the connector, the 3.5.
Look at that, Sony's saving the day. A G3 couldn't have done that. Oh man, the clouds just like we're all in the dark, the shade. Well, people, and enjoy the rest of the video with us being all dark. It's a bit just last minute here. I've got no handy bounce whatever to use, and look at my fancy interview mic. It does keep it like simple, going straight into camera, the same one I normally use for myself, but had it under my bed. It's my normal Aputure A.Lav, and I just pulled out an Allen key from my pocket that I was using to fix my bike up, and hey, stick mic interview. We're such a fancy, low budget, shitty rigs.
It's a professional operation we got.
It's just my YouTube channel. Anyway, getting back on track, let's ask about the.
S mic too.
Oh no, I was going also about the Zoom F4 first of all, because that was the whole point you came around.
Yes. Yeah. So I used the F4. Because when my mixer didn't have my recorder doesn't do time code, so I think, so I borrowed the F4 and I got to kind of use it for that shoot, and I really like it. It's a step up from what I have, and and definitely because I've used the 8FN previously.
In a previous video.
In a previous video, if you put like an annotation or something to.
That I'm totally not going to do.
More homework.
Just pretend it's how somebody had to click.
So it very much worked the same way. Relatively the same way. I think the only one of the big, differences I see just on face value, just like the screen. The screen is it's not really, was it like a LED screen? Not really.
Yeah, the F8 and F8 it's got a color screen, while the F4 it's not black and white, but it's monochrome. Or I guess is the technical term, I think, which doesn't look as nice, but it is better for viewing outdoors.
Yeah.
But just to make a point about the F8, there is actually a daylight option with the F8 you can switch to, which like changes the colors, and so the contrast is better for outdoors. But by default, the F8 is like nowhere near as good for looking outdoors as the F4 is. But at least it's got that daylight option. Anyway.
The other kind of difference between it is looking at the levels. It didn't really split up the tracks. You have like the 1, 2, 3, 4 instead of tracks kind of put together on this side. I'm not sure if I just didn't set it up properly compared to the 8 where it's all like each track had a single line to it. Yeah.
So we've seen the levels go like this way?
No. Going this way, but the tracks itself, the buttons.
We're talking here about the level meters.
Yeah. So the level meters were going there, but it didn't have the specific track on.
Oh, it doesn't have the actual name of the tracks. It just simply says 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah,
I had to kind of work that out for myself, kind of which one I needed to look at when I was monitoring the actors' levels. You know, so I had to kind of like count in my head where the actors were in terms of the track.
I do agree. Like, there's quite a few things. I mean, there's a lot of similarities in the F4 and F8, but when it comes to differences, that might be one of the things I actually like the most about that. I mean, not the one that I like the most, but it's definitely it's on my short list, because whatever you enter in for the metadata for the F8, it will then display that next to the track name. And so instead with the F4, you've got to remember that, on track 4 I've got Lucy, and on track 2 I've got James, or whatever. I mean, it's a minor hassle, but when you're under pressure and you're trying to remember, like, oh shit, there's an issue here, it's too hot, or it's disappeared, or whatever, which person was that, do I need to look at? And it is quite nice.
On the fly, if you have to just train yourself to kind of like middle of the day, I kind of got it down, but like at the start of the day I was just figuring out how like, you know, like I had to kind of teach myself how the setup worked out. The power, what was the powering source?
I was using a Sony BPU-60, and also had a smaller BPU-30 just as a spare backup, and I then had like this adapter battery plate that gives me high rise and D-tap out of it.
Yeah, so I ended up just using one, and when I was recharging it the night before, it only used like 70%. I didn't turn it off the whole day. So
so when it comes to like when it comes to downsides of the F8, I mean, it's a very minor point, but it does use more power than the F4. I mean, the F8 is still pretty good for power. I mean, so long as you're using an external battery source, of course. I mean, double A's are just there as a safety measure. But yeah, like I found with my BPU-60s, I could go all day long with ease. I mean, even a BPU-30 could do maybe a good chunk of the day. But now, like the BPU-60 often doesn't really quite get me through the whole day for an F8. Or, it's just a little bit more closer, but not a big deal. I mean, I've got lots of BPU-60 batteries, so just it's something I noticed.
I don't know what I guess, the bag it came with was just a little too small, especially with a massive brick of a receiver as a UCR 190. So what I had to do is, luckily I had Velcro tape, so I had to like wrap a Velcro tape around the receiver, and then wrap it to make a cross, and then stuck it to the Velcro side on top of everything. Just space-wise, that's an issue. Maybe if I were to use like another setup like that, I'll use a bigger bag, maybe. Yeah,
I mean, I did offer to let you borrow my petrol bag, the one I was using with my old Sound Devices 552 Tascam DR680, so I can hold like both of them and lots more stuff. But yeah, that's interesting that you found the space a little bit confining, because you were only using 2 receivers, and like I've used that bag with my Zoom F4 fully maxed out with all the inputs. When like, yes, it gets really crowded. The bag we're using, by the way, was the Zoom F4 bag that's made by Zoom, because back when the F8 came out, they brought out an F8 bag for that, which I think has got some flaws around the design, but also just in general, that bag is just oversized, too big. And so the F4 bag they brought out was much smaller, and I just really want to but just change the shutter here for a moment, and hello, somewhat slightly brighter scenario that we can sort of see us, and instead we're just kind of going to blow out the skies a bit. Anyway, back what was I saying about the F4 bag that the Zoom brought out. So I think it was a better design, and it also was a more reasonable size. But Yeah, it does get a little bit too small. But I mean, when I upgraded from that bag to the Orca OR30, which I've also got to not put a link to, well, maybe I will, whatever. I've got
more homework for David.
I've got an unboxing of that. But anyway, I upgraded to the OR30 from Orca. I didn't really do it just because it was a bigger bag, although there was a small reason. It was mainly just I wanted like the hooks for my harness that I just got underneath, so I could properly like have it sit on me. But yeah, so the Zoom F4 bag, I have used it maxed out with all 6 inputs and like receivers and so forth in it. So I'm a bit surprised that you were finding it a bit struggling. Do you know that across the front, there's kind of like a little super smaller pouch. It's really thin, but it's only like envelope size. But it means that if you've got any transmitters or receivers that are Sonys or G3s or RodeLinks, you can just slide it there. So you end up having like all of these ones sitting on the outside. So I mean, obviously your UCR 190 is kind of preferable if that sits on the inside, the Lectrosonics. But the Sonys could have just sat on the outside. There would have been lots of space there. I thought.
I don't know, just with the setup I used, it was just like I had two of the receivers, Sony receivers here. The transmitter that was feeding into the camera hung up on a I don't know what is, like a side thing that I found you can hang it in.
Yeah, I think that's the one I'm talking about. It's basically on the side of the bag. There's like sort of slots, so you can sort of sit it on the inside outside of that. Makes sense. So it frees up the space inside the bag to put stuff like the battery and the Lectrosonics that doesn't have that kind of.
Then I had like the external battery, like the big external battery on the next pouch as well, and I put the UCR 190 on top of it, and then just clipped it with like the sticky Velcro, the scratchy side onto, so it just hard. The problem I had with that is just the XLR cable I had was just a little too small. If I had a longer one, I would have been able to kind of just.
It's really handy to get those like stretchy coiled ones.
Yeah, or like
then they can sort of be shorter and tighter, and then you can go them. But yeah, the price. Anyway, I was off mic when I was talking then. So anyway, enough about the F4. We should talk about the Technical Sync E. So I've also probably got a link somewhere to that as well. More homework for David.
More homework for David.
I don't really like putting too much effort into editing my videos. Anyway, so I recently got the Technical Sync E because the Technical Syncs were my first timecode boxes, because at the time there was nothing else to compare to them that you could get. And then I got the AutoSyncs, which I quite like, and then I got the Technical Sync E's. And I think I still prefer the AutoSync ones, but the Technical Sync E's, I guess, are a better one to start out with, especially if you're using with the DSLR. Plus, I feel like they're a little bit easier to use if they're your absolute first time using them. And so I guess that's why I sort of lean towards recommending Joey buy my Technical Sync E, the new version, so that you can then just use the app with. Because I think I've actually got my original Technical Sync, one of them out on loan to another friend, and he's still got the cord for it to use with the iPhone. And so I think that's why I was going like, use the Technical Sync E, so I don't even need to use the cord. And I do remember when you came by, we were like just testing it out with you, because I haven't actually used the Technical Sync E's that much. I've used them on a couple of shoots, but I just basically use them the same way as I used my original ones, just setting them up. And so I didn't really look at the Bluetooth app much. And it does seem like there's a couple of little points to think about with the Bluetooth app, like just being a little bit laggy. So I guess it's still good to just like look at your actual recorder, look at the actual camera to be checking, showing it at it. But in terms of the basic setup, setting what FPS, setting out what the output level is, checking the battery level, that's what the app is really good for.
Yeah, I found it really kind of user friendly, and it's just like you can change everything that you needed all in your mobile device, on your cell phone, your smartphone. You can do it all in the app, which I found really kind of just like it cut down the work time fiddling with maybe compared to the Ultra 6 where you had like 3 or 4 buttons to work with to manage through the settings, and
yeah, so I guess that was kind of my point. Like, I mean, like, I who own Ultrasinks and use them all the time, like, I get sort of the hang of the menu of where it is getting to, but if it's your first time using the Ultrasync, it can be maybe a little bit daunting because it's all sort of menu driven.
Menus and sub-menus, yeah.
And I mean, I have even heard about people returning the Ultrasinks ones, like hardcore professionals. It just, I think it's like too much to wrap the head around. I just think you should sit down and like spend some time and get to learn them, because if you actually own them. And welcome back again. We thought we're going to struggle to like fill up 5 minutes of content, and I just didn't realize I hit the 30-minute on my recorder, on my camera. Damn it. One of the good news about that is apparently one of the big reasons we have 30-minute limits is because over the EU, if you do over than 30 minutes, they apply an extra tax upon it for like 5% for camcorder. So, to keep stills cameras prices down as low as possible, they don't tend to have unlimited recording for many cameras. And that kind of influence of the EU ends up just being felt all over the world because it's a big economic block. But the good news, as I was saying, is that I think come July 2019, that is being limited. They're not going to apply a tax on it anymore. So hopefully we'll see the positive ripples of that apply through. And in other topics, I was just saying to Joey before when we're not rolling, I really do love my Aputure A.Lav here because, as I said, it gives you better than camera audio for almost no effort.
Good
high standards here. Better than camera audio. Anyway, the camera scratch marks. Yes, because I'm just running this into my Panasonic G6 with my shitty rig here. And anyway, so going back, we were talking about the Ultrasync 1 and how I think, yes, it's a little bit more complex to use, and if it is your first time using it or you're thinking about renting it or whatever, it's a good time to like, a technical sync E is going to be easy and handy to use. I guess we're talking a bit about like the app for it. Oh yeah, one handy feature about the app you might not know is if you're using like half a dozen or a dozen or whatever technical sync E's all at once, you could see all of them together all at once because of the Bluetooth with the new Nintendo Sync E, and you can even actually see if it gets disconnected or not. There's this new feature that I thought was interesting.
I think I was looking on videos online about it, studying for the studying how to use it. So it kind of ended up.
Damn you, son! Moving all over the place. Just like
afternoon. Sun's going down. I was looking at the
hello, helicopter.
Production. It's kind of
not hold for sound. Carry on.
we don't do that here. I kind of was studying up how to use the tentacles. Oh man, it's getting worse.
Okay. No need for a cut, we'll just keep on rolling. We're just going to enjoy the beauty of this helicopter flying by. There are like a few. Is there a second one over there? No, it's circled around. It just felt like the echo, I guess, of above. There we've got multiple helicopters. Because, we do have a few helicopter pads around here, like just over the side of the gully. We've got the hospital one, and I guess, anyway. What were we talking about before?
Just because I was just studying up on the Tentacle E-Sync. I've used both Ultrasync and the Tentacle E, and I don't know, like they're both fairly easy to use anyways. Just you've gave me the rundown, and like with that you can just like jam the timecode and just put it into the camera, and then
basically just remember red light equals wants to accept timecode, green light means setting out timecode, and technical sync done, easy.
Very, very good rule of thumb.
Anyway, enough rambling on about the we're talking about the ZMF4, talking about the technical sync, and finally I guess while you were over here I was like, hey, just for the hell of it, I'll just borrow the new DAT S Mic 2 because you were shooting on a beach, and that's a bit of a hostile environment, and the DAT S Mic 2 is fantastic for hostile environments, and also just a fantastic mic in general, I think. Or at least, like, what's your opinion though?
Hostile environment was very It's a very good descriptor. So when we were shooting on the beach,
hate beach, hate sand, but oh well, gotta do it.
Yeah. When we were shooting on the beach, we had a construction site going just down the beachfront, happening on a house, and they had
hostile in the other meaning of the word.
Yeah, hostile. Yeah, they were using a buzzsaw like the whole day, like intermittently in between. So we had to kind of work around that. But in terms of like using the S mic too, yeah, I felt that it cut a lot of like. It helped me a lot with in a pinch when I was kind of like wanting to get the actor's performance and like lessen everything else, you know.
I mean, it's been a very long time since I've used the NTG2, yeah, it will be interesting to do like a shootout comparison, I guess, if we were to meet up another time and do the NTG2 and the DT Mesh side by side. But basically, I guess, are you saying you felt like the DT S Mic 2 had like better side rejection or rather better side attenuation?
I think I just had, maybe I'm having a bias, like, oh, it's a newer mic, might be better, but
it is tricky to like any sound test you're doing to like try to remove that bias. I mean, it's much better. You got like double blind samples, you know, view them. It definitely is a problem. But I guess there's your feeling at least.
Well, compared to my one, I had issues with internal what do you call it? Jankiness.
You were mentioning that earlier before we started shooting. That it was more of a rattle sound.
Yeah, it was
and I was commenting like just literally 24 hours ago. I can't remember what forum it was. Maybe it was Reddit or somewhere. I remember reading somebody posted about the exact same issue, and they're mentioning how that screw at the end where you've got the battery compartment comes in and out. That sort of anyway. Sometimes that gets a bit loose and it can rattle around. But anyway, that's one of the benefits of just hanging around with. I must spend way too much time on forums. It's one of the benefits of being on forums is you often get to experience other people's problems without you needing to experiencing it yourself. And so when you come across that same problem, you really kind of have experience with that problem. Yeah. And also when you're trying to help them out and you're suggesting solutions, you're really getting that thought process practiced of like, how do I solve this? And so you really kind of like semi-solved it if you ever come across it yourself. Without it all being like, oh, fresh, new, scary problem. Anyway, any other thoughts about the DTS mic too?
Yeah, I was using a Rode blimp, so in comparison to the S mic, the diameter is like a smaller for the S mic's smaller diameter. So what I had to do is like I had to get rubber bands to kind of to go on top of the clips to house it so it holds onto the shock mount can hold onto it properly.
Right. Was this interesting? Was this the version 2 of the Rode blimp or the original?
Daryl's one.
I've never seen Daryl's one, I think. Anyway, basically, are they using like sort of rubber band kind of situation with the shock mount, or is it lyres from Makoto? So there's a version 2 blend. So they do actually, you can buy from Makoto different size lyres.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if the Rode blimp comes with the different sizes. It just comes with the one. But yeah, like you can buy different sizes. But I didn't think it would have been a problem because I have used my Aputure DTS mic to the exact same Rode blimp.
It's like I think maybe it's a millimeter or something. It was like just a little loose. So I figured if I put a rubber band there, then maybe and hold it in, and I checked it for kind of I jiggled it around just to like kind of make sure it doesn't slide out or anything. But yeah, it just felt like when I put it on the lyres, it just felt like a tad loose, just loose enough,
Yeah, curious, because like I said, I've got the exact same blimp and I use the exact same mic in it, and I've never noticed that. But then when I think about it, like the Rode NTG2 is like a pretty fattish mic. I think Daryl also has a Rode NTG2, doesn't he? Oh no, they recently got a 416, but before that they were always using it in an NTG2. So I kind of wonder, like, maybe like all the years of using the NTG2 might have just very slightly gotten a little bit more loose, and they just made that slight micron, like that made it then felt too loose with the deity. But yeah, I'm still not sure if I'm buying that theory of mine, because also I think the 416 is a little bit thinner than the NTG2. So
they've had to put tape over their one.
Oh, with the 416, I mean, I would have had no problem if you just put gaffer tape over my deity as well. Interesting. Well, you should really tell Dal, you can go buy like the different size ones, and you don't need to put like, tape over their nice new 416. Anyway. Enough about... Oh, yeah, actually, on that topic, I've got to buy some fatter ones because my... how do I pronounce it? Audax... SH... whatever. I knew one of my hypercardioids. It's quite a fat one. I need to buy, like... fatter one of the Rakota Lyres so I can use it on my Invis 7 and shock mount that I use. Anyway, getting sidetracked. Was there something else you wanted to say?
I think that's pretty much it. Well, I have a video, if to show you what I was working with on the day. We had like it's nicely overcast morning. It wasn't too dark, wasn't too windy, so we had a lot of pedestrians just walking through the beachfront, just having nice strolls with their dogs, and they wanted They wanted
back.
They wanted to play with a cast. So it was a challenging in terms of sound, and because we were skeletonry, we can't really tell the passersby to not talk while they're passing through.
Plus, it's a public space too. But at least, like, if you do have like some spare PAs or something, or a spare 3D AD, you can at least ask politely, nicely. Because, like, it's amazing. I mean, you might not have the authority to, like, tell people you can or cannot do this, but it's amazing if you just ask nicely what can happen. In another video I'm not going to link to, or maybe I will, I've got one talking about that. We're in a construction site, like going right next to the playground we're filming at, and the producer just ran over and said, "Oh, hey guys, can you just like stop?" And they just like stopped early and went home. I was like, what? Cool. Anyway, yeah, talking about the beach.
Yeah.
Which we're not going to link a video to.
Yeah.
No, we're not going to link it. We'll show it at the end of the clip.
Yeah.
Something.
So we had I found that when I'm it's not the first time I've shot near on the beach, but I've found that just because of position of everything, whenever like a plane flies over, there's nothing to get in between you and the plane when they're going over the sea, so the sound travels really from far away, so you can hear it.
Yes, the sound travels a lot further over water. I remember reading ages ago about somebody who was going for the world record for the most number of continuous claps, and so obviously the louder you have to clap, the more effort it is and the more you'll tire yourself out. So the first time this guy attempted to go for the Guinness World Record, he was doing the claps in, I think, a shopping mall, because there was this big event, this guy's going to go for the world record, and so they're having it at this shopping mall. But because of such a noisy environment, he had to clap really loud each time, which obviously would tire him out and sort of impacted his endurance ability, because as part of the requirement for the Guinness World Record, the clap has to be able to be heard from a certain distance. I don't remember what the details were about the Guinness World Record, but you got to hear from a certain distance, and so they had like a judge or person whenever this distance away, and when you got this other ambient noise, you got to clap quite loud over it. And for the second time we went for the world record, he picked a little island in the middle of this big pond, so that it just was him, nothing, straight over water, because the sound travel was better over water. I'm not quite sure the exact technical reasons of that. I really should. But I just read it that once as a fun fact, and I guess beaches naturally have a lot of water next to where you are.
Yeah, luckily we weren't like anywhere close to any airport. It was just more biplanes kind of, and maybe one or two helicopters that came through. But yeah, it was, and we were shooting on a weekday, which was like, it would have been even worse if we were shooting on a weekend, I feel. But
yeah, on a weekend you have people out under their fishing boats and so forth.
Enjoying their, well-deserved weekend. So yeah. So that was my shoot.
Cool, and I guess that's us for now. See you next time, whenever that is.